Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Derek, and today I'm going to be talking about how I use my Akai MPC One with my Korg Kronos. And the way I use my Korg Kronos and Akai MPC One together is I actually use the sequencer in the MPC One to trigger the sounds in the Korg Kronos. And somebody may ask, well, the Kronos has a sequencer in it, a full-blown sequencer. Why do you use the sequencer in the MPC One instead of using the sequencer in the Korg Kronos? And the answer for that for me is very simple. I simply like the sequencer in the MPC One better than the sequencer in the Korg Kronos for a variety of reasons that I will get into in this video. So right now I do have this set up to record, and I just have it connected via a USB cable. So the USB cable is coming out of here, going into the MPC One, and it's set up to record MIDI. So, but what I want to say here is a lot of times when people think of the MPC One, they think of people who are going to be making beats. They think of it, some kind of a pattern-based sequencer. So, like for instance, this is what we kind of know the MPC One for. And then I'm going to loop, and then you record something over the top of it. Or when you see people using the MPC One, what they're doing is they're taking some sort of samples or something, like they're playing a record or something like that, and they're taking those samples, chopping up those samples, adding them to the pads, and making a beat like that. But the MPC One actually has a very, very powerful sequencer in it, and when paired with the tone generator that is in the Korg Kronos, because this still has the 9 sound engines and so on and so forth, it's a very, very powerful workstation. But just the synthesizer portion and the way you can do all of your editing and so on and so forth, as far as your sound design and stuff like that, the Korg Kronos is still a wonderful machine for that. And using these together, you get some powerful things happening. So let's go ahead and get into it. So when you think of it, so I'm just going to hit the undo button here and just undo that last recording, make sure it's gone. Good. So one of the things that I really like about this, and I did go over this in another video when I did it with the Yamaha montage, but one of the things I like about it is, first of all, the undo button. So the undo gives you multiple levels of undo. In the Korg Kronos, you get one level of undo if you're using the sequencer. So if you record 2 things and then you want to undo both of those things, you can only undo one of those things versus having multiple levels of undo. This may seem like kind of, like not really a big deal, but when it comes to workflow and you're really creating and really doing stuff, only being able to do undo one time versus many times is a big deal. So also, you don't have to record in just a simple pattern. You don't have to do pattern-based recording. You can record in a very linear fashion. You don't need to do pattern recording. So first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to come up here and I'm going to set my BPM to 110. And all I have to do is click on it, hit that, and I can turn this down to 110 and hit do it. And now my BPM is set to 110. And what I'm going to do next, I'm going to go over here and select the bars. The bars tells you how many measures you want your recording to be. So I'm just going to set this to something very, very high, like we're probably not going to actually do 80, but I set up to 80. I can go all the way up to 999 measures if I want to. So at 120 BPM, that's about a 33-minute song or so. So yes, you can definitely record in a linear fashion. And then all I have to do is hit this little button here and turn off the looping aspect. So then what that means is this is going to go for 80 measures, and after 80 measures, it's going to stop. So now I'm set up to record, and I can do it in a linear fashion and don't have to do it like, recording like various clips and stuff like that. Now I can record clips if I want to. I showed that in another video. I did more like a sequence-based or a clip-based recording style, and I use loops and stuff like that, and I just use my different sequences. I did that in my previous video with the montage. If you want to check that video out, go ahead and check that video out. But on this one, we're going to record in a traditional linear fashion. Now I'm going to come over here and just make sure my time correction is off, because I don't want it to loop. I mean, not loop. I don't want it to correct my timing automatically and quantize my notes. and I'm set up to record MIDI channel number one, or MIDI channel number one in my Korg Kronos. I'm set up in a combination. MIDI channel one has a piano on it, and we're ready to record. So let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so we just recorded that in a linear fashion. I got up to 61 measures, and then that's the end of it. I can come over here and I can adjust the bars down to 61. And so now after measure number 61, it's just going to stop playing and it's not going to loop. And so there's my recording. So I record it like you would just like you would record in the Korg Kronos. I just simply recorded it in the MPC One. Now, what I really like about the MPC One, that's something that is not in the Korg Kronos, is I can come over here and double click this button and go to my grid. And I can see all of my MIDI notes and stuff here. All of my events MIDI stuff is right here, and I can scroll through and I can make changes. I can move notes around. I can select different things. It has pinch to zoom functionality, so I can really zoom in and stuff, where I want to be and whatnot. I can erase notes. I can add notes and stuff like that if I want to. And it just makes editing and stuff very, very simple. In the Korg Kronos, when you were in the sequencer mode, if you want to do event editing, it gives you a list. So you actually get a list of notes, and you have to go through the list and try to figure out what's going on. This is a lot easier to use for me than the list, okay? So let's record another channel here. So I'm going to go back to my main, and I'm going to go to track number 2. And track number 2, I'm going to set to MIDI channel number 2, and then I have to come down here to the MIDI port and turn that. And oops, I went up by accident. There we go. Now turn the MIDI port on here. Boom. And my channel number 2 is a drum set, and now I have this set up to play. Have this set up to record a drum set, and I can see the indicator here with the blue meter. It tells me that this is getting a MIDI signal, and I can just hit record and play start and record my drums. All right, so I just recorded a little bit of drums there. So now you have drums recorded as well, but let me just go ahead and undo that, and let me just show you something else. If I want to, I can record the drums using the pads instead of using the keys. So I have my note repeat here. So watch this here. So I can go like this, and we can do record 2, 3, 4. All right, so what I could do here is I can go to overdub. I can do a record overdub instead, and now I can overdub what I just did over the drums. You play start 1, 2, 3, 4. So it just offers some flexibility. I can either use, let me just go ahead and undo that. I can use the keys, or I could use the pads if I want to. Okay, so let me go ahead and just I already did undo. So let's record 1, 2, use the keys. All right, so now I just recorded the drum track, and so I have drums in there in a linear fashion. I've got the piano in there in a linear fashion. Now let me show you just one more thing. Well, not just one more thing. Let me show you something else. I can go to track number 3. So now I have the third track, and I can set track number 3 also to MIDI channel number 2. So MIDI channel number 2 is still the drum track in the Korg Kronos, but it's actually going to be track number 3 in the MPC One. So now let's say I wanted to record this and just wanted to do some percussion. I'm not going to do the whole thing, but here we go. Ooh, let's undo that. There we go. Let's try it again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So that's good enough for what we're trying to do. But what we have now is you have the percussion, you have the tambourine and this little shaker and whatnot going on. And the thing is it's on a separate track. So if I go into the grid, the only thing that's going to be on track number 3 is my actual percussion, even though it's being recorded to is using MIDI track number MIDI channel number 2. So I have 2 separate tracks to control one MIDI channel. So what I can do now is if I wanted to adjust the velocity of the percussion all by itself, I could. If I was recording just in the Korg Kronos, I really couldn't do that. I would have to use a separate MIDI channel, set up a separate instrument in order to do that. But in here with the MPC One, I don't have to do that. I have more control. Now, the MPC One, I can have up to 128 tracks per sequence. I did this all in one sequence. I can have 128 tracks per sequence. So I can set up 128 tracks to control my 16 MIDI channels and have more control over what I'm doing. Now let's go back to my grid here and let me just move to the very, very end. Let me just pinch down and go to the very end. And so let's see. Oh, I did play from start. I don't want to do that. Let's just move ahead. I'm just moving ahead. Let's see. And so I believe this is the, I believe this here is that whistle that I didn't want. All I have to do is come over here, hit the delete, and now it's gone. Easy to do stuff like that to make changes. Come back to my pinch to zoom. And so, you know, you can see I can slide around and do different things here. You know, if I wanted to actually draw in notes, I could select the pencil, and now literally I could put notes in. See what I'm saying? So if I wanted to put notes in and stuff like that, that way I could. So I can add notes. I can take notes and stuff away. If I mess up, I got multiple levels of undo. So I'm just hitting undo. And just like that, it's back to the way it was. All of these things are not really possible. Oh, that was a mistake. All of these things are not really possible. They're possible. You can do them in the Korg Kronos, but because it has the way it's set up with the list and stuff like that, it doesn't have a piano roll. Yeah, it's a lot harder to do it in the Korg Kronos. So I have that set up here. So my effects and whatnot would be handled using the Korg Kronos, because this is handling all the tones, but all the stuff where it comes to notes and whatnot would be handled on the MPC. And let me just go to a different channel here. Let's go back to channel number 1. So now I can come over here, and if I want to, I could speed it up. All that kind of MIDI stuff. But not only am I able to do that, but you have to remember that the MPC One, it also has its own sounds and stuff as well. So I can come over here and choose a regular drum track, or a regular regular drum sample or drum kits or whatever, and I can come in here and I can come into the browse, and like that, for instance. I can come back into my main and I set this to this. And now I can actually record track number 4 and use the sounds in the MPC One. Now, I'm not trying to make something that's nice and musical, but I'm just showing you that you can actually use the sounds in here at the same time that you use the sounds in the Korg Kronos. And when I'm playing live, I will not use as many sounds in the MPC One. That way I can get a whole bunch of sequences in at once, because this is just one sequence. One sequence can go up to 999 measures, and you can have up to 128 tracks. But I can go to sequence number 2, and now I get another 999 measures. I get another 128 MIDI tracks as well. And I can set this up to where, you know, it plays sequence number 1, and then it goes from sequence number 1, and then it plays sequence number 2. And so the power of that is just, you know, it's just it just gets to be it gets to be crazy. It has a step sequencer that I can use as well, so I can do step sequencing. And you know, so everything about the MPC One sequencer is just really powerful. And when paired with the Korg Kronos at the same time, you just get some amazing possibilities. I can play the MPC One from the keys, or I can play the MPC One from the pads. I can play the Korg Kronos from the keys, or I can play the Korg Kronos from the pads. And so the flexibility of the workflow is just really there. So I can use this live, trigger different things, and I can use it in the studio and record stuff. And the thing that I really do like the best, I must say, is just this grid editing feature here, where I can come in here and come into and I can see all of my MIDI notes and all of my events and stuff here, and I can make changes, and I can make edits, and I can do different things. I can change the velocity, I can change the timing. It's just, you know, it's amazing. Another thing that I do is I actually sing, and so, well, I sing a little bit. I'm not really a soloist, but I'm in some situations where I end up singing. And the thing about this is, here, watch this, here, watch. Now, let's say, you know, I was singing a song over the top of this, but it was just a particular day, and I couldn't, you know, wasn't able to sing all that well. Like, it was just, my voice wasn't there. I can come over here, and I can hit the transpose. So watch this. Now, of course, the other track is not to transpose, but I can transpose that, or I can go over here and I can transpose the whole sequence. But of course, it's going to transpose the drums as well, which I don't want to do that. But anyway, you can just come over here, having a bad day, like, okay, I need to sing in a different key. So I just wanted to show you guys that, because I think it's very, very intuitive. A lot of the things that I wish were actually in the sequencer for the Korg Kronos are actually in the MPC One. And I can record anything in the MPC One. I can do any kind of audio, any kind of clips or anything. I can put them on the pads, trigger them on the pads and whatnot. So I believe that this is actually more powerful in many ways than the actual sequencer in the Korg Kronos. I believe the Korg Kronos, I've used it for years, loved it, and I've just kind of fallen out of love with it, just because I found other things that work a lot more intuitively. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, this quick little demonstration. I know it wasn't the best musical thing. I was just laying something down really quickly just to show you the possibility. And I hope that by watching this video, you're able to see the possibilities and able to see the potential of what a pair like the Korg Kronos and the Akai MPC One can really do for you. Live, studio, whatever the case may be. If you are looking to get out of your DAW and to start using more hardware in your recording, I highly recommend picking up an MPC One or an MPC Live or an MPC X and pairing it with your hardware keyboard. This is primarily I'm talking to keyboard players. Pairing it with your your hardware keyboard and going for it, because it's really quite amazing the stuff that you can produce. And so I can take the power of the Korg Kronos and the 9 sound engines and all of that stuff. I can still use the setlist mode live, and just have, various combinations and stuff set up along with the MPC, and just hit play and just I'm off to the races. And so it's a very powerful setup. I know that you guys are going to be able to do amazing things with it. Don't stay, boxed in and thinking, well, I just got to use I have to just use my sequencer in my Korg Kronos. Try it. Try the MPC One. Try doing something else. You may be amazed at the results that you actually get. Anyway, that's it for this video. I thank you guys for sticking with me this long. If you like content like this, you like in-depth stuff, tutorials, demonstrations, stuff like that, please consider liking this video and subscribing to my channel and hitting the bell icon so that you get a notification whenever I'm uploading new stuff, because I am always doing so. And with that, I will see you guys on the next video.